Hello and welcome or welcome back to the Nonstop Podcast. My name is Erica and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are discussing plant-based lifestyles with the one and only Dr. Judy. Nonstop is a weekly travel and lifestyle podcast that promotes the importance of traveling and mental wellness for millennial women. We discuss everything from travel to dating and careers to mental health. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for entertainment purposes only. All right, let's get to it. All right, Dr. Judy, go ahead and introduce yourself to the Nonstop family.
Hey, Nonstop fam. I'm Dr. Judy. I'm an internal medicine physician, also lifestyle medicine based in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I help women learn healthier eating habits, more plant forward eating habits so they can thrive and live a healthier life. I have online courses and coaching programs, and I teach about plant based nutrition, and I love it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. So let's get right into it and see what gems we can get from Dr. Judy, shall we? All righty. So, Dr. Judy, what does plant based actually mean?
That's a great question. And there is some questions about that. I do get that quite often. So you may hear the term vegan. So I have to
Mhm.
distinguish vegan from plant-based. They are
Yes.
different. Vegan is an ethical stance whereby the individual does not consume anything that involved an animal or an animal byproduct in the process of it. So it could be something like white sugar. Many people don't know it's processed
Mm,
with bone char. So even though there's no animal products in the actual sugar, it's produced using an animal product. So a vegan would not eat white sugar that's not organic, meaning it was processed with bone char. They also wouldn't wear leather or buy leather, wouldn't wear wool, different things like that.
mhm,
Now, veganism is classified as a type of plant based diet. It can be classified as such, but plant based is more of a looser term. It's more
mhm.
flexible.
Okay.
So while vegans will absolutely never ever eat or use anything that comes from an animal. Um, Plant based is kind of a little bit more broad and flexible. So,
Okay.
depending on who you ask, they may say, Yes, I'm plant based, but I eat fish a couple times a week. Or I'm plant based, but I eat eggs a few times a week. So,
Mhm.
generally speaking, it's kind of like at least 70-80% plant-based, I would say. I actually did a poll on my social media to ask, what does plant-based mean to you?
Mm,
And that's basically what I got. So when people think of plant based, they understand that you eat mostly plant based vegetables,
mhm.
fruits, beans, grains. But, when you're going out to eat, you may be a little bit flexible and may eat something that came from an animal, whether it's dairy, fish, or eggs on occasion. And then there's whole food plant based, which is the next level, and it's different than vegan because whole food plant based eliminates foods that are processed. So it focuses on healthy foods. And I prefer, the evidence really supports a whole food plant based diet, not really just eliminating animal products because you
Mhm.
can be an unhealthy vegan.
Oh, for sure.
Oreos are vegan, French fries are vegan,
Yes.
um, Beyond Burgers with, processed vegan cheeses, that's vegan, but that's not
Yeah.
necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
So whole food plant-based says, okay, I'm gonna minimize those processed foods like packaged foods and eat things that were as close as they were to how they came out of the ground. So beans, tofu, nuts, whole grains instead of white rice and white bread,
Mhm.
fruits, vegetables, different things like that. So that's what I educate my clients on. That's what I strive for. That's what the evidence supports. And so whole food plant based really is the diet that we should be aiming for. Um, and then there's even different types of vegetarian. That's also another subgroup, I guess, under plant based. So
Yeah.
vegetarians don't eat meat, but they will
Right.
eat dairy and eggs. And then there's different types of vegetarians. Some eat eggs, some eat dairy, and some eat fish. So
Yeah,
there's
I
a
was
lot
gonna
of
say like
variation.
lacto ovo or
Yes.
something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then there's
Yeah.
also like raw vegans, yeah?
Right, exactly. Yeah, raw vegans. There's even people that do alkaline vegan diet.
Yes. Mhm.
But plant-based is very broad and will encompass all of this that I
Okay.
just defined. And I'm more along the lines of the whole food plant-based.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So have you been plant-based or whole food plant-based your entire life, or is this something that you started more recently?
Well, funny thing is, I'm Seventh-day Adventist, and I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist household. And for those that don't know, that's a denomination, a Christian denomination that actually encourages vegetarianism. So we
Mm,
grew up pretty much plant-based,
okay.
meaning we ate white meat a few times a week. We ate dairy, though, um, regularly, but we never ate pork, didn't eat red meat. Um, and my family is pretty healthy. My parents are pretty health conscious, so we didn't eat a lot of processed foods.
Okay.
Um, and it was just like a normal way of life to me. But I didn't really come to really embrace whole food plant based nutrition as a health benefit and a lifestyle once I finished residency and I started to learn more about it. I met someone who was plant based and I
Mm-hmm.
started to have conversations with people, physicians who had patients who have been able to reverse their type 2 diabetes by switching to this way of living, who have been able to improve their blood pressure and lose weight. And I was just blown away because we never was taught that those conditions were reversible or
Mm-hmm.
even preventable in training. You know, as an internist, we're taught, and I thought that you prescribe the medication for the
Yep.
blood pressure, for the diabetes, and they stay on it for life, and you know that's it.
Yep.
But hearing that there's an alternative really blew me away, and I just delved into the data. I wanted to learn more about it, and so I've been sold on it since. I myself did not transition overnight. I was very resistant, like most people, and like many of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how am I gonna bake? Because I bake, you know,
Yeah. Oh,
cakes, bread,
oh, you're
biscuits,
talking to my
muffins.
soul right now. Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, how am I gonna bake without eggs? Because eggs really does give
Yeah.
baked goods that nice fluffy texture. And I was like, and I like cheese. Like a lot of people are
Oh,
addicted
yeah. I
to
was gonna say,
cheese.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Don't get me started about macaroni and cheese. I can eat that for breakfast,
Oh
lunch,
my,
and dinner.
that's hilarious.
And I was like, how am I gonna survive without eating cheese and dairy? And trust me, I used to buy like a block of cheddar cheese and I would eat that in a
Yes.
week.
Oh my God. My dad did the same thing. He would just like slice it and he would just take the cheese and just eat it
Hmm.
just like that. I'm like, what are you doing?
It used to be the best thing ever. But just a combination of really the spiritual piece, I really did
Mhm.
feel that, you know, a higher power, I did feel that God really spoke to me. I was like, Judy, this is the diet I want you to adopt. And so over a years, I did it gradually
Mhm.
by myself, went back and forth so many times.
Yeah.
And now I can say I finally stuck with it, and I'm very good at baking and cooking vegan. And so now I
Love
have
it.
women to do the same in a
Mhm.
lot shorter time because, you know, tomorrow is not promised. So why spend 6, 7 years
Yeah.
to transition to a healthier diet, still be on the same medications or struggling
Yeah.
with your health challenge when you can work with someone to and do it sooner?
Yeah, I completely agree. So we kind of got into a little bit of the benefits of being plant-based, but can you go and directly just talk about those one more time so we can just talk about them specifically?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think of plant-based diet as kind of like a one-stop shopping. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes there's different diets that are good for different things. Like the ketogenic diet
Mhm.
is good for short term for weight loss.
Mhm.
Is useful for refractory seizures in children,
Mm.
but it's not really beneficial. It's actually harmful for long term with regards to cardiovascular health. So plant-based diets have been shown in many studies and data to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. One of the biggest studies, it's easy to look up online, the Adventist Health Study. There's data extracting from the Nurses Health Study that has looked at that as well, and they found a lower rates of cardiovascular disease in populations that consumed a vegetarian diet as well as a vegan diet.
Mhm.
And there's also some data from Satija, that's the author of the study, looking at healthy plant based diets and unhealthy plant based diets, and found that there's a difference. So it's not enough to just be plant based and think that, oh, you're good and you're healthy.
Mhm.
But they actually found a difference in that those that were eating more of the processed foods, processed plant based foods, had worse health outcomes. So I talked about cardiovascular health,
Mhm.
lower risk of diabetes. There's no, I wouldn't say no, but plant-based diets is one of the main diets whereby you can reverse um, type 2 diabetes. I've seen other non-plant-based people make claims about other diets, but really I think plant-based diets is the one
Mhm.
that can reverse type 2 diabetes, and as well as memory. It improves your memory function, your cognitive. And then cancer, a lot of times we think of cancer is genetic, that it's
Yes.
just something that you just get. But actually, even cancers like breast cancer have been kind of associated with obesity.
Hmm.
And we know that plant based diets do help with weight loss. So they also lower your risk for certain cancers like breast cancer and prostate cancer as well. Actually, the Adventist Health Study, they looked at that. With the consumption of things like beans and I think it was tomatoes, and found lower risk of prostate cancer among men who followed a vegetarian and a vegan diet.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So, for the folks who are interested in being plant based of any sort,
Hmm.
what are some of the challenges of being plant based?
Yeah, so one of the misconceptions is, and I actually did a webinar on this, the 5 myths about plant-based diets. And I think sometimes these things really hold us back in our mind. I
Mm.
think one of the things that it is a challenge, but it can be overcome is the social expectations, I would say.
Mm.
We are indoctrinated, I will use that word, as a society to believe that we need to consume calcium. Sorry, we need to consume dairy for calcium,
Uh huh.
and that we need to consume animal products, meat for protein. And we're also indoctrinated to think that um, you're not going to get enough protein from plants. So I think
Yeah.
overcoming that mental hurdle in your brain
Yeah.
and realizing that what we've been taught is actually not correct. You
Hmm.
don't need as much protein as they push down our throats. And plants do have protein, and you can definitely get adequate protein on a plant based diet. It's very easy. You don't need nearly as much protein as most people are consuming. 0.8
Mm.
grams of protein per kilogram of body weight is all that you need, and you can easily get
Interesting.
them on the plant-based diet. So I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing is the mental hurdle. And I
Hmm.
had this too because I was like, well, how am I going to get my protein?
Yeah.
If you say
That's
you're
one of
plant-based,
the number one questions, right?
yeah, if you say you're plant-based, the first question people ask about protein
How do
and
you?
then
Yeah.
vitamins. I was like, I'm gonna be
Yes.
nutrient deficient.
Yeah. 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 That's very interesting. But yeah, that's definitely one of the things. I know another challenge that I always hear people, tell me about is it being expensive. Can you kind of talk
Hmm.
about the expense? Is it
Hmm.
expensive to be plant based?
Yeah, and that's actually one thing I did a little webinar on too. So it depends on how you do it. If you're doing the unprocessed plant-based
Hmm.
impossible burgers, Beyond Chicken Nuggets, the vegan cheeses, the vegan yogurts, all those
Hmm.
things are expensive and they add
Yeah.
up. But if you look at things that are not processed, like beans, a can of beans you can get at Aldi or Walmart for $1.
Yeah.
You can buy a bag of beans for like $1 or $2, depending
Hmm.
on where you shop, and that's like a can of beans is like 2 to 3 servings.
Hmm.
That's not expensive.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you're eating, and I think that's another mindset shift that needs to change, that really just holds a lot of people back from switching to a plant-based diet because they
Hmm.
think it's going to be expensive, but it's really not. You
Yeah.
don't have to buy organic. You don't have to shop at Whole Foods. You can shop at Aldi, Walmart, and get all your produce. Buy your
Hmm.
food in bulk. Buy
Yep.
dry beans and cook them. Buy your brown rice in bulk and cook it,
Hmm.
and you're good to go. Um, Now, if you want to be bougie or more next level, like I'm a little bit. I shop at Whole
I'm
Foods.
very
You
big.
know what I mean?
Actually. Yeah.
I like to buy organic things. So
Yeah.
I do spend more on groceries, but
Yeah.
you don't have to. But like
Yeah.
right now, I shop at Aldi too. I shop at
Mm.
Aldi and
I
I shop at
love
Whole
Aldi.
Foods. I'm
Yeah.
always trying to save money,
Yeah.
'cause, I mean, come on now. Right now, gas prices and everything.
Whew, baby, you got gas prices like mortgage. You know what I mean?
I
It's too
know.
much.
It's
So totally
crazy.
get that. Yeah. So
And
that's
then
wonderful. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
also want to say about being expensive. Like I really believe, okay, let's say it really is a little bit more expensive to eat healthier. You're gonna pay now, or you're even gonna pay later. So
Say that.
let's just say, which from my reading of the prices, and I did a whole grocery store tour on this, and I
Hmm.
compared it. Like I said, it's not actually really more expensive to eat whole food plant based, but let's just say it is.
Hmm.
If that can prevent you from getting diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, having a
Hmm.
stroke, being on
Yeah.
disability, not being
Yeah.
able to work, being on dialysis, is it not worth it?
Yeah.
To
It
me, I
is.
would think it's worth it. I think I am worth
Absolutely.
it to actually spend a little bit more money on what I'm putting into my body. So to me, my main priority is what I'm fueling my body with. And
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people take better care of their cars than their body.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you get your oil change
1000%.
every 3 months, but you don't want to see your primary doctor every
Say
year
that.
for a checkup.
Uh-huh.
You put premium gas in your car, but you don't want to put premium food in your body and you think it's
Talk to him,
supposed to
Dr. Judy.
function
Mm-hmm.
properly. It's not.
Yep. 100%. I hope y'all hearing that because she just, the gem I was talking about, that was it right there. She dropped that. That's so 100% accurate. So thank you for that. So, as a plant based eater or having plant based lifestyle, what is your go to meal?
My go-to meal is I do a lot of tofu.
Really?
I
Tell us about
yeah.
that.
Sorry?
I said, tell us about that. What's your tofu
Oh,
meal?
yeah. So I love tofu and I'm very good at doing it. A lot of people say that, they don't like the texture, but I'm just
Yeah.
like, you just haven't had anyone that knows how to cook it
Yeah.
right. So I basically treat tofu like how I used to treat chicken. You marinate it,
Mm.
you
Oh,
use the same seasonings. Um, and so I dice it, cut it up in
yeah.
cubes so the flavors can like marinate it in. I use Bragg's aminos
Mm.
so that that flavor gets inside the tofu, and I saute it in a cast iron skillet. So I use
Oh my
whatever
God.
seasoning, like Asian. I make a
Mm.
teriyaki sauce, or I do a jerk seasoning sauce, and do it in the cast iron skillet. I like that the best. Or you
Oh,
can
oh,
bake it in the oven.
okay. Well, I know who house I'm going to for dinner. Okay. I'm on the
Yes,
way.
I have events at my house and
Oh,
people always love the food that I make. So I do the tofu within like it's called a Buddha bowl. So it's like a
yes, I
grain
love
at the
Buddha
bottom
bowl.
with quinoa, which is really good,
Mhm.
rich in protein. It has like 4 grams of protein per
Mm.
serving or something like that.
Mhm.
And it's a whole grain, has all your essential amino acids. So I would do quinoa on the bottom, some sweet potatoes roasted,
Mm.
corn, spinach, and then I make like a dressing sometimes with like either like tahini or just like put salad dressing
Mhm.
on top and then put the tofu in there. So I've got like my 2 to 3 vegetables, so it's colorful
Yeah. Oh my God,
and
that sounds
got my
delicious.
whole grain and my protein. So that's easy. That's something easy to pack and take for lunch.
Mhm.
And in the course that I have a recipe book of my recipes, and that is one that's in there
Mm. I
for
love
the
it.
students.
So, okay, let's kind of flip on the other side of that. So, you were talking about eating in and cooking. Let's talk about eating out and dining
Mhm.
out, whether it be with friends or family. Is it difficult to be plant based and eat out and about? Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it can be because people will try and peer pressure
Yeah.
you to eat a meat and dairy, and I don't know why. I'm just like, "Can I stay in my plate and can you stay in your plate?"
Yeah. Are you sure
But
that's good? I don't know about that. What is that? What is that? Yeah.
yes, like people just notice that you're plant-based and they wanna ask you questions. So
Yeah.
if you're a beginner, you really have to like get your mind right before you go out to
Yeah.
events because you may get offended.
Yeah.
I'm not the type
May.
to
You
really
most
get
likely will,
offended.
for sure. Yeah.
Yes, I just use it as an education opportunity. But my people that are newly plant based, I'm like, okay, talk to yourself before
Yeah.
you go out and say, I'm not gonna eat this, I'm not gonna eat
Yeah.
that, and have a prepared answer to people when they ask you, oh, why aren't you eating, the chicken, or why aren't you eating that? Have a nice, pleasant answer. Don't get into no arguments with anybody. Don't try and convince anybody. Just keep it simple
Yep.
and keep it moving. But yeah, that can be challenging. What I do really is I um, don't eat out a lot.
No. Okay.
And when I do, I always check the menu first.
Yes.
And if I'm not fully confident that there's enough options on there, I will eat first
Mhm.
and just go and just have a drink or a salad and just,
Yes.
be there to fellowship with my friends
Yes.
and family. Same thing with going out to family gatherings. I really try not to leave my house hungry. I always eat something first, usually my vegetables, because
Yeah.
and this is something else that I teach too. Make at least half the food on your plate vegetables. It'll be really
Mhm.
good. So like when I'm traveling and I travel a lot, I always take snacks with me, like
Yeah.
vegetables, carrot sticks. I'll
I
take
have to do better,
hummus.
Dr. Judy. I'm hearing you. Gotta do better. I
Yeah,
already hear
nuts and
it.
raisins. I take things like that so I don't get tempted in the airport to
Yeah.
buy
Oh,
unhealthy food
yes.
because there's nothing healthy really in the airport.
No,
Nothing
and
really
then you have
vegan.
yeah, and then you have a 15 or $16 salad that you're like, "This
Yes,
is
it's
awful."
expensive.
Yeah, it's
So I
don't
try and
yeah.
pack a sandwich. Like I would actually buy like they have these like vegan deli slices.
Yes, I've
God,
seen them. I've
what's the
never tried them
brand? I think
yet.
it's Tofurkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just make a sandwich, take some snacks, always have snacks. And when I get to my destination, I always look up on the Happy Cow app where the
Yeah.
vegan restaurants are, and I go to the grocery store because I gotta have my
Yeah.
vegetables and fruits. So I
I
buy
hear that.
that and keep it in my hotel room so that I have that to eat.
Uh-huh. Tips, tips, tips. All the plant-based folks out there who are looking or hesitant, or just even if you're already plant-based and you just need some
Mhm.
information, that's some tips right there for you. Because I know I just got some. I love
Mhm.
it. So, okay, so what's one thing that people worry about when considering going plant-based? I know we
The
talked about protein before. What's some other things that people are a little concerned about?
Yeah, people are concerned about whether they would do it right. There's this perception
Mm,
that they're going to do it wrong and be nutritionally deficient and
got
not
it.
eating the right things.
Mhm.
And so that's why I created my course, Plant Based Eating 101, to
Mhm.
give people the educational background and information about the science behind plant-based nutrition so that they can feel more confident in their decision to be able to adopt a healthy whole food plant-based diet. So people ask about carbs. How
Mm.
much
Oh
carbs
my
should you
god.
eat? Are carbs
Yes.
bad for you? Which they're not. Depends on which type, and the vitamins and nutrients. So the vitamins is something to be aware of on a plant-based diet. You have
Mhm.
to take a B12 supplement
Mhm.
because that's the only vitamin that you won't get on a fully plant-based diet.
Mhm.
That's only because with the vitamin B12 comes from bacteria. It's made from bacteria that's in the
Mm.
soil. And when the food is, processed, they use antibiotics. So it kills the bacteria. And the animals, the cows and the pigs and chickens are actually given a B12 supplement. So it's not like they inherently have B12. They're given
Interesting.
supplements. So that's
Mhm.
where you get B12 from if you eat it in your diet. And so to me, I'm like, well, just take a B12 supplement
Yeah.
yourself and skip the animals.
Cut out the middleman.
Yeah, some people think it's weird to take a B12 supplement, but they don't know that the animals took a B12 supplement too.
That's
So,
crazy. Yeah, that's very interesting. So, I guess my question is let's kind of go back to the carbs. I know you were talking about carbs aren't necessarily bad. Now, when I first went plant-based, I went vegetarian first, and then I took a year just to kind of figure it all out, and then I went
mhm,
vegan. So, as based, I initially went to carbs. So I
mhm.
exchanged the meat for carbs. Can you talk about carbs and whether they're good, bad? I know you're talking about that, and just give a little bit more information.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love talking about carbs. I have like a whole presentation talking about carbs. And this that's a huge misconception that carbs are bad.
Yeah.
And I try and get people to see that when you speak about carbs being bad, you're really lumping all carbs together. So a carb is
Mhm.
just a macronutrient, just like fat and protein. It's the primary source for energy for our
Mhm.
body and our brain. So we do need carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And there are different types of carbohydrates. There's sugar, starch, and there's fiber.
Okay.
And fiber is a type of carbohydrate that you only find in plant-based foods. And
Mm.
it's underutilized, underrecognized, and most people don't get enough. Most
Yeah.
people only get like 10, not even 15 grams of fiber a day, but you really should be getting upwards of 20 to 25 grams of fiber a day.
Mhm.
So I tell people it's like the term that you need to minimize carbs is really not accurate. And it's really actually frustrating because it's really harmful because people
Yeah.
are eliminating healthful foods such as whole grains, fruits, and vegetables
Mhm.
because, they are taught by other healthcare providers and individuals that carbs are bad.
Yeah.
The carbs that we need to eliminate are the added sugars. So anything with an added sugar, like cane sugar, um,
Donuts.
maples. Not maple syrup's not that bad. I use
No?
that on occasion, but
Mhm.
like cane sugar, high fructose corn
Oh,
syrup,
yeah, for sure.
for sure, absolutely. Like I would just cut those out completely because they increase inflammation drastically.
Mm.
But the natural sugar that you get in fruit, it's processed by your body differently. It has
Mhm.
fiber, so it's processed differently. It doesn't cause those spikes in blood sugar that the other carbs do. So yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. So Is there a withdrawal period when you're transitioning from eating meat to being plant-based? I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's something I just don't feel good."
Mm,
What is that? Can you talk about that for a little bit?
I've heard people say that too, that they don't feel good. They feel just like
Fatigued or no energy?
fatigued, yeah, kinda
Yeah.
like the energy is down,
Mhm.
and I'm not I have not read any particularly, evidence-based scientific data on that, but I know that some have hypothesized that maybe it's from their body detoxing or whatever,
I've heard that, yeah, I'm like,
getting
I'm
rid
not
of
sure.
toxins,
Yeah.
and I probably yeah, so I didn't experience that, though. I didn't experience that at all. I actually had the opposite. I
Mm.
had and this is more what I find more common in people that I speak to,
Mhm.
um, once they've transitioned, and got over the hump,
Mhm.
that their mental clarity is improved. Their mind is able to think clearer. They have a higher connection with
Yeah.
like God or spiritual power, and they have more energy.
Mhm.
Instead of after you eat, you feel tired, like you need to take a
Yeah.
nap. You're actually fueling your body properly,
Mhm.
so you're actually more energized, and that's
Yeah.
how it's supposed to be.
Yep, and that's funny. So, let's kinda track back, right? So I know we are talking about earlier about cooking versus going out to eat. Now, I know I hear a lot of people, and I even thought when I went plant based, I have to cook every day, right? So that's
Hmm.
one of the main things. Like, I can't do this because I don't want to be in the kitchen every day. What do you think about that? Being plant based equals cooking every day. What can you say?
Yeah, no, you definitely don't have to cook every day because that's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
Batch cooking, so cooking 2 to 3 meals at a time and
Hmm.
freezing it. Beans and whole grains are really easy to do that with. Rice, yes, you can do that with too. So, I live by myself, so I tend to cook 3 to 4 meals, and I would just eat the same thing, and that does get redundant. But if I'm cooking for more people, I'd probably cook like every other day because I don't
Yeah.
really do a whole lot of leftovers, so probably
Hmm.
every 2 to 3 days. But yeah,
Okay.
you definitely don't have to cook every day. And you can also buy things that are a little bit easier. Like sometimes you can find tofu already seasoned and cooked
Hmm.
at like certain stores like in a package they may sell
Yeah.
it like that.
Hmm.
You can buy vegetables that are already cut up. It's gonna
Hmm.
be more expensive, but that can save you time too. Um, but batch cooking definitely is helpful,
That's the key.
cooking the beans, the rice in advance, cooking 2 boxes or 3 boxes of tofu at a time,
Hmm.
putting it in the fridge. You can even freeze some and pull it down for later. And so, yeah, that's what I do.
That makes sense. Yeah. So let's kind of go back. I know you mentioned it before, like the frozen foods, whether it be the Beyond Meat or the
Mm.
Impossible. What do you think, health wise, about those types of frozen go to meals?
Yeah, they're processed, so they're not things that I would have on a regular basis,
Hmm.
but they're definitely good transition foods
Hmm.
for people who are trying to come off meat, or
Yeah.
even people that are, fully plant-based and sometimes just want a burger with
Hmm.
a beefy taste. You want to eat an impossible burger. It's
Yeah.
not like it's gonna, some people are like, oh, like, I don't eat that. I can't eat that because it's processed, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But I just think it depends on where you are in your journey.
Yeah.
If eating an impossible burger is going to help you get off of eating beef, which is high in cholesterol, and, let's not talk about the effects of the animal farming industry on the
Yeah.
environment,
Yeah.
animal cruelty, and just, how
Hmm.
animals are treated in these factory
Yeah.
farming. Impossible burger definitely is a better option than eating a
Hmm.
beef burger. But don't stay there, get into eating lentil burgers, which you can make a
Mm.
nice lentil burger, chickpea burger, which is full of vitamins and fiber, definitely healthier than an impossible burger. So it depends on where you are. Um, but definitely those things are really nice. I'm excited now. When I first went plant-based, there weren't these
Yes.
vegan substitutes. There's a vegan substitute for everything now.
Everything. It's
Everything.
amazing.
Yeah, even
Just in
like
the past couple, like 7 or 8 years,
mhm.
and I'm just like, "Wow, what a
Yeah.
difference."
The chicken looks like chicken. They
Yeah.
have mayonnaise. They have egg
Yeah.
substitutes. They even like the just egg that scrambles like an egg. I don't even know how they do that.
I don't know, but that thing is delightful.
It
I've
is.
had it, and I just love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
There's so many options. I'm like, there's no excuse not to be plant based, plant forward. in
Yeah.
2022.
Talk to him, Dr. Judy. That's right. So, okay, let's talk about the snackers. So we kind of went for the less healthier option of the beef, right? Now let's talk about some good snacks, whether they're just kind of processed or just healthy snacks for the folks who love kind of like the junk food.
Hmm.
What do you have for them? Any options for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So healthy snacks, gravitate to fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Like really fall in love with fruits and vegetables. So carrot sticks, peppers, yellow peppers, tomatoes, hummus. You can dip in hummus,
Mm-hmm.
nuts, dried fruit like apricots is a really good snack. Applesauce is a good snack.
Mm-hmm.
Popcorn is healthier than eating potato chips.
Love
So
popcorn.
those are the snacks that I would recommend. Corn chips is even healthier than eating potato chip because corn is kind of like a whole grain.
Ah,
Um, and especially
interesting.
like purple tortilla chips, with salsa. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty healthy snack too,
Hmm.
instead of like Lay's potato chips,
Yeah.
that's like fried and salty.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and instead of chocolate, instead of using chocolate, milk chocolate,
Hmm.
because that has a lot of sugar in it, buy dark chocolate, at least
Yeah.
70%,
Okay.
because it has less sugar and it's actually better for you. There's actually some data that dark chocolate, the cocoa, not the sugar that's in it, but the
Yeah.
chocolate is good for you. So the more, the higher the percentage it is, 70, 80, 90, it's going to be better. And just a small piece, like an inch, not the whole bar. Just
Oh, see, you
like
lost me
a
right
little
there,
piece,
Dr. Judy. I mean, if they
maybe
give me
two pieces. But yeah, not the whole bar. So just a little bit. Yeah, what are
Oh.
some other snacks that I use? Um, those are the main ones. And also what I do is I don't keep junk food in my house. I think that's really the key to
Yeah.
being healthy. Don't buy it. Don't have it in your house because
Oh,
it's easier to snack on junk
oh,
food if
yeah.
it's in your pantry, especially late at night when you're craving. It's going to
Oh,
take more work and effort for you to get in your car and go to the store than it will to just pull it out the pantry. So if it's not in the
yeah.
pantry, you're less likely to eat it.
Yeah.
So I buy things in small quantities. And on the occasion that I do want a potato chip,
Mhm.
I will buy a small bag. Same thing with ice cream. Now I have a lot of self control now. I've been doing this for a while, so I can buy a big bag and it will last me like a month or two.
Oh my god. Okay, I don't know
Same
if
thing
I'm
with
there
ice
yet.
cream. I buy a little pint and it lasts me months. I just eat like a little
Well,
half a cup.
yeah,
But
I
if
was
you're
gonna say I can see
new
that. Yeah.
and you're starting out, just buy a one serving of ice cream. If
Yeah.
you craving ice cream, buy one serving, and that's it. That way you don't
Mhm.
have it in your house. That's
Yeah.
what I think people need to do if they're struggling with snacking. And I know this is a travel. A lot of people watching will travel.
Yeah.
Don't let yourself fall off when you're traveling, and
It's hard.
yeah, it
Mhm.
is really hard. But
Yeah.
pick some healthy snacks in advance. Try some peanuts and raisins or
Mhm.
trail mix or
Yeah.
popcorn. I'm sure you can do that. That's not too hardcore, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And just have that in your bag. And yeah,
I like
water.
it. Yes, for sure
That's also
water.
what I do in the airport. I buy water instead of buying the soda.
Mhm. I always keep big jugs of water. Always, always, always.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, and your
love it.
taste buds would change. I don't even really like soda anymore. Like when I drink it, it just tastes processed and just too sweet to me. So I would drink kombucha. I like
Mm.
kombucha because that has some probiotics in it. I feel
Mhm.
like it's good for me and it
Yeah.
has that carbonation. So when
Yeah.
I'm craving soda, I would do a drink kombucha. I drink tea and water, but
Mhm.
as much as possible, I don't add sugar
Yeah.
to my beverages. I add a little honey
I was
and
gonna
that's
say, what
about
about
it.
honey or agave?
Yeah, I use honey and maple syrup.
Mm.
And then
I
in
love
my
that.
baking, I actually stopped using cane sugar recently. I'm like
Mhm.
trying to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And I'm using date sugar and
Okay.
coconut sugar. But like I say, there's
Interesting.
levels to it, right? So it's just
I
like
hear
my
that.
thing is just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Eat more vegetables, make half the food on your plate vegetables, and you'll
Mhm.
be good to go. Because, and funny thing is, my motivation is because I like to travel, and I see my patients who are stuck on dialysis. You can't
Yeah.
travel if you're on dialysis. You on
Yeah.
oxygen, you can't travel. Who wants to travel with a CPAP machine because you're overweight and you have sleep apnea, or
Yeah.
because you have to take a lot of medications, and the medications make you tired.
Yeah.
So I basically have traveled the world. I'm originally from Bermuda, and for me, one of my biggest motivations for eating healthy is because I don't want to be fatigued, tired, with joint pain, and not able to
Yeah.
travel freely like I
Yeah.
can.
That's a big thing. I mean, and just being able to go out and just move, and even if you want to
Hmm.
explore, whether it be hiking or camping or
Yes.
whatever it is, yeah, it's
Yeah, all
hard.
of that.
Yeah.
I do all of that when I travel, hiking, jet skis, zip
Go
lining.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, see, and so that's kind of interesting because now I want to take it to a little bit of a larger scale, right? So, not just traveling or not just women, which is what our focus is here, but can anybody do a plant-based diet? Is it good for kids or seniors,
Mm.
athletes? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Plant-based diets are great for everybody. So let's talk about kids first because that's the
Hmm.
biggest concern
Yeah.
because traditional medicine, pediatricians will make you think that they need to eat and drink cow's milk.
Yeah.
But cow's milk actually is not formulated for humans. It's formulated for the
For
baby
cows.
cow.
Yeah.
If you really look at the composition, fat protein of cow's milk to a mother's breast milk. A mother's breast milk is custom designed for her baby, if you think
Hmm.
about it. And a lot of times we're disconnected from the process. We don't really think, wait, why does a cow produce milk? It's because she just had a baby. The
Yeah.
baby was taken away from her. And we're eating the milk that our bodies aren't even designed to drink.
Yeah.
We don't even drink human breast milk past like what, the age of 1 or 2, but yet we're drinking the breast milk from a cow. Really,
Hmm.
to put it quite plainly, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
And it's causing us health harm. Milk is probably the first thing that I would say people should look at cutting out milk
Hmm.
and red meat and processed meat for sure.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's safe for children. Um, they can get all of the vitamins and nutrients. And I've done Facebook lives actually on this with my pediatrician colleagues just to like you can hear from a pediatrician that yes, it's safe for kids. Absolutely. You don't have to worry about the nutrients, the vitamins. I know so many people, plant-based doctors who have raised their children
Yeah.
fully plant-based from birth. They're like in their 20s now, living
Yeah.
healthy, productive lives, not having any nutrient, vitamin, calcium deficiencies or anything like that. And I would just say maybe find a doctor that's supportive of that because I just have to say that plant-based nutrition is not taught in traditional training. So
Hmm.
dietitians, nurses, doctors, they don't learn about it. It's
Hmm.
something that myself and those of us who are plant-based had to look at the research. The research is there in PubMed
Hmm.
about plant-based diets. So find someone who's supportive.
Yeah.
With regards to the elderly, I've known people that have transitioned to a plant-based diet in their 70s and they were basically, someone who had several heart attacks and
Mm.
strokes and were able to come off of some of their medications from switching.
Wow.
Dr. Esselstyn, Cardwell Esselstyn, has a book about heart disease and his work with patients who were 65 plus who had multiple heart attacks who were told by their doctors that there was
Mm.
nothing else they could do for them. They were already on maximal recommended therapy and still having symptoms.
Mm.
So that's one example. And Dr. Michael Greger, he has a platform to Nutrition Facts, which is a really good place to look for information,
Mhm.
talking about health and plant-based nutrition and the elderly. But again, it is helpful to see a doctor that is knowledgeable about plant-based nutrition. So I also do lifestyle medicine consultations. I'm going to be starting this back up in August. So, when I have my elderly patients, because I know about plant-based nutrition, I will focus on what vitamins they need to pay attention to,
Mhm.
make sure that they're eating protein because they do need to pay a little bit more attention to that when they're
Yeah.
older. It may be um, a bit of a challenge for them to get enough protein if they're, you know, not eating a healthy plant-based diet with adequate protein sources as an
Mhm.
elderly person. And just the calcium requirements are different for people of different ages too, so that's important to pay attention to. But it's definitely um, a lot of evidence to support plant-based diets in all ages, men and female. And
Mhm.
there's a growing community of vegan athletes who
Mhm.
are bodybuilders, fitness trainers,
Yeah.
and they coach people how to do it. The Game Changers is a really good movie I recommend people watch if you want to get started and learn about plant-based nutrition. It's very easy to watch, entertaining, and you'll see like, oh my goodness, there are people that are building muscle, men. on a plant-based diet and they eat soy and they don't
Yeah.
have man
Yeah.
boobs. That's another myth about plant-based diet. It's like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. So actually, let's get into that. Why you mentioned it. Soy, good or bad or both?
Mhm. And there's so much mixed data on soy, but I think a lot of it is propaganda, just like how I mentioned about people saying that you need milk to get calcium and
Yeah.
you don't. Soy actually is beneficial if you look at the data looking at soy consumption in certain Asian communities, particularly the China study, Adventist Health study that's based primarily out of California,
Hmm.
found that groups that consumed more soy had lower risk of certain cancers. And there really is not strong data to suggest that eating soy is harmful.
Okay.
The studies that people use to support their claim that soy is healthy, the studies that people use to support their claim that soy is harmful are people consuming unusually ridiculous amounts of soy, like
Mm.
12, plus servings a day. Nobody's going to do that. But if you're eating 2 to 4, even 5 servings a day of soy, that's safe. I used to say like 2 to 4.
Okay.
There's no concern whatsoever with eating soy, and soy should be a part of a healthful diet.
Mhm.
Um, and it actually can be helpful for some women going through menopause. And it's a really something that people get confused about. They think that when you eat soy, you're eating like hormones, like
Yeah.
estrogen, that's
Yeah.
gonna like bind to your hormone receptors and cause the same effects in the body that estrogen does. And it actually doesn't work that way. It's a phytoestrogen, and depending on what organ it is in the body, it can bind to the estrogen receptor and actually block the effects of estrogen, which can actually be
Mm.
beneficial in certain conditions and certain organs. So, um, it's not an estrogen um, molecule or hormone. It's not like you're eating estrogen. I think that's what some people think. They think that if
Yeah.
they eat soy, it's like eating estrogen.
Yeah.
But actually, if you're concerned about estrogen, you really should look at milk because that's full of hormones from the cow. Although it's a different species, but still, it's still
Hmm.
hormones. So
Yeah.
soy is definitely safe. But I'm trying to bust that myth, but it's so hard to break the
Yes.
noise from the larger community that's preaching this information. And again, like I say, I think some of it may be really just a cycle. I don't know if there's like trying to keep people unhealthy. I'm not really sure, but I'm really trying to share people information that help them to break free.
Yeah. We need it.
But there's so many myths that are out there, and soy is another one of them.
Yeah, we definitely need that. So, kind of going into healthy, physical healthy, right? So, what are some of the things that someone who wants to slim down
Mhm.
on a plant-based diet? I know that, oh, if you change or if you go to a vegan plant-based, you'll lose weight, right? So, but we want to talk about still being healthy while
Mhm.
doing it. Can you talk about what are some things that people can do to slim down while on a plant-based diet?
Yes, absolutely. So there are different ways you can lose weight. If you are consuming less calories than what you're expending,
Mm-hmm.
so if you're eating less, if you calorie restrict, regardless of whether you're eating meat or plant based, and
Yeah.
you're exercising, you can lose weight that way. You can
Mm-hmm.
lose weight on several diets, but like I mentioned, plant based is the better one because it also reduces your risk for heart disease, diabetes, and other conditions. And so I recommend using an app, Chronometer. It's a really nice app where you can track how much fiber you're getting. Fiber is really good for weight loss. So aim for 20-25 grams of fiber a day. It also helps you to stay full.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than focusing on carbs as a food group
Yeah.
and the total grams of carbs, focus on the total grams of fiber. Reducing the stay away from sugar. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are consuming unnecessary calories by drinking sugary drinks,
Mm-hmm.
sodas, especially. I find a lot of people drink sodas like every day.
Oh yeah.
Starbucks is packed with
Oh boy.
sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna make it difficult to lose weight. So anything with added sugar, I would say eliminate completely
Yeah.
if you're trying to lose weight. And then ramp up on the fiber. And what foods have fiber? You're talking about beans,
Mm-hmm.
vegetables, lots of vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
and some fruit too, and some whole grains. A good rule is like a regular plate, make half of the plate vegetables, a
Mm-hmm.
quarter whole grains, and then a quarter your protein. And a quarter probably is going to be like the size of your fist.
Okay.
So a lot of people do get tripped up because they're eating processed foods or they're eating added sugars. I find a
Yeah.
lot of my clients who are struggling to lose weight on a plant-based diet, when I actually, do a consult with them, come to find out that they're eating things with added sugars in it and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize it. But there's sugar in everything, even like ketchup. So I buy sugar-free
Yeah.
ketchup.
Yeah.
I buy sugar-free everything. And if I do buy something with sugar in it, like a cereal,
Mm-hmm.
sugar is lower down on the ingredient list.
Got it.
You
Okay.
can really
That makes
lose
sense.
weight with a plant-based diet without even like hardcore exercise. And like the diet has to come first. And a lot
Yeah.
of people I find focus on the exercise. They have the
Mm-hmm.
gym routine down right,
Yeah.
but they're not eating right. And it doesn't work that way. You have to get the
Yeah.
diet right.
That makes
Mix in the physical activity. It doesn't have to be complicated, but what you're putting in your mouth is the most important thing as far as losing weight and being healthy, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
guidelines about physical activity recommend 150 minutes a week.
A week. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
I think that's doable, right?
Hmm.
Okay, perfect. So, kind of in the same lane as you were just talking about, like the calories and things, do you have to count calories or journal food if you want to be plant based?
You actually don't. And most of my plant based colleagues don't recommend their patients to.
Yeah.
I tell my clients to do it early on so they can prove to themselves because a lot of people think they
Ah,
have to track these things.
yeah.
So that's why I recommended the Chronometer app to track and see your macros if you
Hmm.
want to. People that are athletes do keep a track of their macros, but typically it's not something that you have to keep a track of every day. But I think it's a good idea too in the beginning and if you're trying to lose weight because I like to know what percentage fat and carbs and protein my clients and patients are eating because that
Mm,
has to match their physical activity level.
got it. I see. Well, that makes sense. Okay. So, kind of talking about your clients and their lifestyle. If someone doesn't have support to go plant
Mhm.
based within their household, do you think it's sustainable?
That would definitely make it challenging,
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
Because it's so difficult if you got to cook two meals and you're trying to cook healthy plant-based but your husband is not feeling it, your kids aren't feeling it. So
Yeah.
that's actually one of the biggest challenges that my clients say. They're like, well, how do I get my family on board? I literally have clients like this right now. So I've given them tips on, how to slowly introduce it to them. But
Hmm.
that's why a community is really good. I have a membership
Hmm.
that we kind of work through that and we support each other. The women support each other and I support them and like if your spouse or your family member is not really feeling it, you have a community here that we support what you're doing and we're going to keep encouraging you to stick with it and not give up. So it's absolutely essential to
Yeah.
find a community, whether it's a paid membership, a group, a Facebook group,
Yeah.
something that
Something.
you're in with other people that are believers in this
Hmm.
because yeah, it can definitely be hard if your family is not on board. You
Yeah.
have to have really good reasons for being plant-based. You have
Hmm.
to be internally motivated and know within your
Yes.
spirit that it's the right thing
Hmm.
and know that it's the right thing for your family and just do baby steps. They don't have to be vegan.
Yeah.
They don't even have to be fully plant-based, but I
Yeah.
think any progress past 50% plant-based is better. Like I say,
Hmm.
at least half the food on the plate should be vegetables, but the more the better. But
Yeah.
yeah, have them watch Game Changers. If there's anybody that's on the fence, have them
Yeah.
watch Game
I think
Changers.
the one that did it for me was what, Oversized or over whatever
Oh,
that
I
was
haven't
with the.
watched that one yet.
Oh my God. I was just like, okay, that's too much for me. Like, it just got crazy. But yeah, I
Mm,
mean, sometimes for me, I think just watching it and seeing the effects long term for other people.
mhm,
And I'm like, okay, if I can fix this now, you know what I mean? If
yeah,
I can do better now, or at least start a little bit, you know what I mean? Hopefully that can start to change some things. And I've been plant based. It'll be going on 6 years, I believe. And
Okay.
so I feel better. I lost weight. Now, of course, I gained weight during COVID. I think like everybody
Mhm.
sitting at home
Yes.
snacking, right? But generally, I mean, I feel better. I look better to me.
Awesome.
And it's just a different way. I don't have any of those same like headaches when I go out.
Mhm.
Everybody already knows what I eat, so there's no questions. Or
Right.
they'll suggest, oh, well, I know, this place has vegan items or whatever the case is. Let's go here. So I think it just takes time, right? So once
Mhm.
you kind of get through it, your friends and your family, your entire like ecosystem basically will start to change. Yeah.
Yes.
So I agree. That makes sense. So let's have a couple more questions before I get you out of here. Does the food you eat affect your mental health or mood? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely 100%.
Mhm.
So there are certain foods that actually have been shown and are kind of recommended to improve your mood. Blueberries is one of them
Love
that
blueberries.
can really help your mood to
Mhm.
improve. Um, but then also with the mind, it's very important too, because if your mind is not right and you're stressed, you're depressed, you're anxious, it's going to be hard to make a lifestyle change, and it's going to be hard
Mhm.
to stick with it because you're more functioning in sort of a fight or flight mode.
Mhm.
And so it all starts with the mind. Everything that we do starts with the mind. You make
Yeah.
any decision in life, it starts with the mind. So I'm really big on recommending therapy.
Yeah.
Getting therapy to deal with childhood trauma or anything that happened to you in childhood, therapy to deal with things that you're even going through as an adult.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes people want to talk to their friends about things, but they're not really equipped to help you to really navigate things and be um, really constructive and help you to really
Mhm.
process something a little bit better.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I actually kind of do like an assessment on, when I'm starting out working with people on where they are as far as their mental health and their stress. And
Mhm.
if it's like really high, I'd recommend that they get therapy first
Yeah.
instead of trying to make a drastic lifestyle change because it's
Yeah.
going to be hard to stick with it.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
And we also eat very unhealthy when we're depressed and when we're stressed. Like during COVID,
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people dealt with depression and anxiety. And, even I found myself eating more junk food, eating more
Mhm.
processed food.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I really thought to myself this sometimes. I was like, I don't care. Like, you really
Yeah, I
just
mean,
don't
yeah,
care.
it
Like, and if
happens.
someone had said, like, it's unhealthy, it's not good, but you
Yeah.
feel so bad that you're just like, I need something to make me feel
Yep.
better right now. So what do?
Yep.
You eat something that has sugar,
Yeah.
fat, and salt. So yeah.
That
And
turns
and I
into a
do
cycle
think
all in its own.
and I think a lot of people really are dealing with either food addictions or
Mhm.
undiagnosed depression and anxiety
Yeah.
and stress, and they're using food to medicate themselves to feel better. So they're using sugar
Absolutely.
as a high, and sugar really gives you a high, just
Yeah.
like an opioid will. Sugar will
Mhm.
give you a high, as well as dairy. Cheese contains casomorphins that kind of acts in the body just like opioids and gives you
Mm.
that kind of high. That's why it's so hard to stop eating cheese.
That's why so many people are addicted to it, because I know it happens to me. I used to put cheese in my
Mhm.
eggs back then. I'd have cheese
Yeah.
literally on everything. Double cheese, well, maybe not double cheeseburgers, but cheese on top of cheese on the burgers. It was
Cheese and
crazy.
everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting that you say that. Okay, and
Mm.
that kinda actually leads me into my next question. Does your gut health then affect your mental health and mood?
Yes, gut health absolutely affects your mental health and mood. A large portion, or if not most, of our immune system is actually in our gut. And they found a connection between poor gut health and depression,
Mm,
actually. And so, when you're on a plant based diet, and eating a lot of fiber, you're fueling that gut bacteria with that good fuel. So you're
mhm,
fueling it so that you don't have an imbalance
mhm,
of gut bacteria, and so that your gut microbiome is healthier. And that's kind of like a new trending topic now, gut
mhm.
health and
Yeah.
the microbiome. You can get, your stool tested and
Yeah.
different things like that. But generally speaking, if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, you don't even really need to eat probiotics because you're eating prebiotics, which is the
Mhm.
in the plant-based foods. Whereas if you're eating meat, that's kind of gonna cause a dysregulation in your gut microbiome and that gut bacteria. So gut health is important. Everything is important. It's not just one path to health.
Yeah.
And I try and really emphasize that because people act like, okay, yeah, I'll drink apple cider vinegar, or I'll drink alkaline water, or I'll
Yeah.
do this one thing, or I'll do a detox, and I want a quick fix. People want a quick
Yeah.
fix,
Of course.
but
Of course.
everything is important. Our mind, what we put in our body, the thoughts we think, the way we move, how often we move, how we sleep,
Mhm.
everything is important with health. So we call that lifestyle medicine.
Yeah.
And so it's all important.
I love that. Okay, so last question. For anybody out there who is interested in plant based diets and whether they are just hesitant, they don't know if they're ready yet, or they're just getting started, what advice would you have for them?
So check out my blog, theplantbasedmd.com. Go to my Instagram, the plant-based MD, and my Facebook under the same. I have a lot of resources there, live videos, posts about plant-based nutrition. I also have a YouTube channel, and I am going to be starting posting videos weekly there about plant-based nutrition. Sign up to my email list. I do webinars about plant-based nutrition, and specifically my whole platform and brand is I'm trying to get more people to go plant-based. So
Yes.
I make it easy, attainable, achievable, and desirable so that you will want to go plant based. And I help you to do it, give you the step by step tools, provide a supportive community, as well as evidence based, scientific, from a physician who's not just trying to, you know, make up information or give you information, but it's really actually like scientific. I read
Yeah.
the data, I read the articles. So reach out to me. I would love to work with you and help you. Specifically, I work with women who want to be healthier. And like I say, I'm not vegan. I'm not trying to get people to be vegan, but it's a more of a whole food, plant based, and plant forward so that you can live your best life. Do what you want to do, travel so that your mind can be right, so that you can really prosper as the way I believe God intended us to be.
I love it. Well, thank you so, so much for that. And for one more time, just so everybody is aware, can you go ahead and give everybody your social media handle as well as your website so they can reach out to you directly?
Sure. Reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook at the Plant Based MD. And my website is the plant, PLANT, based MD.com. You can sign up to my email list. I share all kind of goodies and information there. I would love to connect with you. Reach out to me if you have any more questions. If anything I said sparked your interest, like Dr. Judy, I want to learn more. I think I want to go plant based, but I don't know how. I'm the person. Reach out to me, and I'd love to help you.
I love it. Well, thank you again, Dr. Judy. I really appreciate you dropping all the gems today on plant based lifestyles. And for anybody, again, who's interested, reach out to me or to Dr. Judy, and I will get you in touch with her. Alrighty. Once again, thanks so much for watching and listening to the Next Stop Nonstop podcast. I'm Erica, and I'll see you on the next episode. And to my Next Stop Nonstop family, I want to remind you to write a review on iTunes and like, comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Next Stop Nonstop podcast. All new episodes will release every Tuesday, so make sure you keep an eye out. Also, tag at Next Stop Nonstop in any of your comments, or if you have any topic suggestions, or if you just have a question for me. At Next Stop Nonstop can be found on all social media. So, until we meet again, I want to wish you all healthy minds and happy travels.